Hello, my fellow pilots, and welcome again to another episode of Star Citizen FM, episode 62. Star Citizen FM is your fan community source for anything related to Star Citizen, the community, or anything else in the verse that might catch your fancy. Star Citizen FM is hosted by yours truly, Dr. Hawk, so join me on this special collaborative episode with
Nikki Batgirl D'Angelo from Star Citizen AA. And today we're going to be talking with Dr. Hawk, and we're going to be doing our second collaborative show, and this one is going to be covering the topics of the dogfighting module, gifting, and finally this week's hopeful edition of multi-organizations. How are you doing today, Dr. Hawk?
I'm doing quite fine. If there's any sound of lawnmowers in the background, I apologize for the audience. But otherwise okay. Just focusing hard on school and keeping an eye on Star Citizen like everyone else.
Well, it's good to know the doctor trims his hedges just as well as everyone else.
I could have so many bad jokes.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is pretty long time coming. We've been talking about doing this show since the last one that we did. And, between moving my studio around and getting a new PC built and just
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. I don't know if it's congratulations. It didn't go as well as I hoped. I mean, it's an amazing computer, but I know I like Apple now after building a PC. Though
Heretic.
Hey, you gotta like it. The big thing is that the Mac is definitely easier to use and get set up, but the PC definitely kicks butt in running my games. But it's been a long time getting us here. And why don't you tell us a little bit about what your show is about from my from my audience, and then I'll tell your audience what my show is about, okay?
Well, Star Citizen FM is a pretty simple little podcast that I started back when Star Citizen initially was unveiled. Being that I don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars to throw at Star Citizen, which I gladly would, Star Citizen FM is supposed to be short, relatively 15 to 20 minute episodes based on my personal opinion of what's happening in the Star Citizen universe, as well as important things or headlines that come up, such as the dogfighting module, gifting, or multi-organization implementation. Basically either an ADHD or relaxed version of the news for those who maybe don't have the time to watch Wingman's Hangar or are seeking a different tone.
Alright, and Star Citizen AA kind of got its name as a joke, as being a thread inside of the subscribers den where a lot of us have spent a lot of money on the game. And yeah, big joke though. In no way, shape, or form do we like to make light of the AA ending of it, but I became a news show. I dissect pretty heavily a few things each show. Instead of bringing all of the news to people, I try to get to the pieces that are most important to everybody and give my opinion and discuss how those things are going to affect them in the Star Citizen verse. I also bring interviews of the Cloud Imperium Games staff. I've interviewed Sandy and Chris and Eric and Ben, and I've got and David Haddock. I've got quite a number of people that I'll be coming up, and occasionally I'll do a video review of a ship that's in the game. But that's pretty much it. It sounds like a lot, but it really isn't. That's just what I've been doing for the last, I guess, 6 or 8 months.
Well, it's certainly something that becomes almost like a hobby to itself. Like, I find I look forward to doing it, and give or take these last 2 or 3 weeks that some people have noticed my absence, which was for school, mind you. I'll cover that in a forum post later. It's good to get back in the saddle, and it's something fun to look forward to and talk about. Yeah. So with that being said, we have 3 topics today that I will be going over for the audiences, and those are the dogfighting module, or the arena commander, the gifting policies that have been talked about, as well as the implementation of multi-organizations. Which one do you want to start with?
Well, we're going to start with dogfighting module. It's the one that's the oldest right now, but also the one that is the most, not controversial, but the most on top of people's thoughts, right? It's the most on people's thoughts.
Well, I think everybody wants it just because it's the first playable, and I mean quote unquote playable version of the game that we'll be having. Running around in a hangar side, most people want to be shooting each other than jumping up and down on their hydras.
What about running around on your buggy and driving it over? That's not so fun either. Yeah. My biggest thing right now is I don't know about yourself, but it's like the first PC game I ever owned, because I had Amigas and Commodores and Ataris and things like that before my PC, but the first PC game I ever had was the original Wing Commander, and I built that PC for it. And the combat in there wasn't what the game was about. It was the immersiveness of the whole story, about the way that Chris put together that branching story arc, and how things that you did in missions and decisions that you made during the downtime actually affected the game. So with the dogfighting module being the first and foremost thing on people's minds, and my own, I'm kind of wondering, is it really going to be the WoW that Squadron 42 is going to be?
I don't think it's going to actually be that initial WoW. I'm going to use a certain game here that some people might remember called Duke Nukem Forever. Now, that got panned pretty heavily when it was finally released, but I myself enjoyed it quite heavily. Now, I'm not going to talk about the quality of Star Citizen and Duke Nukem. Those are entirely separate entities. But given that they're releasing the game in a very modular format, it's not going to have that same ready-baked appearance. Like, we're getting a half-completed cake. There's no icing on it yet. There's bound to be bugs, and there's bound to be things to be that will disappoint. Look at the hangar module when it first came out. There were still people that posted saying, "Is this it?" There'll probably be those same kind of people. It's that expectation of, I backed for this, where is my money to show for it? And even though in the end the patience will be the thing that wins out in the day. So I don't think it'll be fun. For those of us who know what we want and just want to try the combat portion, we'll be just sitting there, happier than a pig in mud. But for some people, I'm pretty sure we're going to see that forecast of, what the hell, where is my persistent universe, or this game is stupid, it's going to... you're going to get those kind of expectations. Reactions, sorry.
Yeah, I would expect it. I mean, calling it stupid, the people that do that aren't actually looking towards what the whole game is going to be. For those of the people, our viewers or listeners that actually have played any of Chris Roberts' games, these dogfighting modules are integral pieces of every game, I believe, going back to the original Wing Commander, where you had the little arcade-looking space simulator sitting there in the bar. And I challenge anyone that's played those games to try to remember the game itself and actually think about how much fun you actually had in that simulation part. This is really for the alpha testers to test the flight dynamics, the level of damage, the level of detail, the damage, how the thrusters work, how the HUD works, more so than it is going to be an immersive piece of the game that you're going to be in all the time. Don't you agree?
Yes and no. Given that it's, like I said, still going to be an alpha, I'm pretty sure there won't be the grand cinematic... Well, I don't know yet. Well, we could be surprised. The grand cinematic and narrative associated with it, that's what people expect. I don't know how they plan to implement Arena Commander. Either you do sit down in a chair and it starts up the simulator, or if you just click it from the menu options and there you go, you're already in space shooting each other. Although the evidence that they do want to immerse you is already there. Everybody's seen the famous helmet flip. So
that's awesome.
So the touches are already being put in place. They want you to be immersed, but don't expect the whole play.
Right. Now, I've been playing around with... I broke down and got myself into the premium beta for Elite Dangerous, another one of those games that I played a long time ago before I got my PC. I was playing it on my Commodore. And it's another one of those space trading, space pirate, space fighter, space exploration games. In the same light, only it's probably about 6 or 8 years older than the original Wing Commander, maybe not so much. I remember Wing Commander coming out in 90. If I'm talking about my Commodore 64 and my 128, I think 82, 83, 84 is when it was out. And I loved that game, and I can remember playing it for hours on end, and there was no storyline in there. It was kind of like what the Persistent Universe is going to be for us in Star Citizen, but the actual combat got very repetitive and very boring after a while. And after seeing the dogfighting module reveal, it looks incredible. Like the beauty of the game, the dynamic, well, the game just looks incredible. But when I break down what I saw, that same type of flight dynamic where it's just a twisting, turning fight with, it kind of gets that repetitiveness part.
Who can circle around the other person first is what you're getting at.
Yeah, it scares me. I know it's going to be a little bit harder because there's going to be a detail of, the detail of damage is going to be much greater. So when somebody shoots a wing, it's going to affect the way you turn. So there will be diminishing flight dynamics for each shot that you take into a critical system, which is different than the other games, where you just kept on turning at the same speed until you finally blew up.
Right.
But it's kind of scary to me. Like, what do you think? Like, what are your opinions on that?
Well, given that you're worried about it, I've looked at it myself, and I'm a PvP advocate. I've said before to some of my viewers that I want to turn Star Citizen FM into one of those shows that breaks down, what the Hornet's capable of, what the 300i is capable of, what is an effective weapon for here. I'm delving into Dark Souls 2 right now and loving that PvP mechanic. I like knowing that I'm better than the other guy, or at least, I learned something from that guy who's better than me. And from some of the things I saw, I found it very interesting with that Newtonian mechanics, and given with the RCS, or thrust vectoring in the game, nothing's actually stopping a person from, say, flipping 180 degrees, and if they're really good, still maintaining a turn while shooting the person behind them. Now, I don't know if that's possible, but with the Newtonian mode, it kind of throws standard patterns of flight out the window, meaning that you can maintain momentum in one direction and yet face the other. This is space that we're talking about.
Yeah, that's the piece that's going to be different, right?
Sorry to interrupt. The one thing I forgot.
No, go on.
The one thing I did think about when I was thinking about this, though, is it does bring up the issue of turreting. This has happened in other popular, multiplayer space games. I think the latest victim of this was actually a free-to-play game called Black Prophecy, one that I've enjoyed quite a bit, where the best tactics at some points was to just stay still and yawn, pitch, and rotate around, not even moving, just because you could actually outgun the other person in the time that it took for them to get a bearing on you.
Did you ever see the movie The Last Starfighter?
Yeah, that's another good example of it, the Death Blossom.
Yeah, the Death Blossom. That is a great example of that. I don't think that that's going to be possible in this game. Like, you wouldn't be able to overpower somebody with that move. But when you bring up that, I kind of forget it. The Newtonian physics and being able to do that Battlestar Galactica slide, slip, or spin around and continue direction, that is going to be a game changer at times.
Well, even just the fact that it's in space, I don't know how well it will be, and this will be something for me to test in future episodes of SCFM once the dogfighting module is out. But there's even famous aerial maneuvers that are used quite commonly by fighter pilots in real life. One of them, a very notorious maneuver, is called the Cobra maneuver, and it's...
Yeah, but that would have absolutely... I mean, they've already said, if anyone ever did a Cobra in a dogfight, the plane would be shot down in a blink of an eye.
I'm only just bringing it up because with the thrust vectoring, you could easily brake and slow down before the other guy realizes it and shoot him. It's space. In a real life situation, at least in atmosphere, it's more easier to predict. Space...
In space, you don't have the airspeed bleed that Cobra would cause.
Pretty much.
So, yeah...
In fact, the Cobra was even done during the the Hornet reveal trailer, which kind of made me like, oh, look at that.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. So, I mean, there are a lot of things that are coming forward, but when you think about it, I know that they didn't have their joysticks there because of the whole shipping all of the joysticks and throttles and pedals was going to be more costly and more difficult than just taking the game pads with them.
Yeah.
But maneuvers like that are really going to need a pretty expensive set of, think about it. You're going to have to be investing at least $100 to $400 in a good throttle stick and pedal to get the most out of those maneuvers.
Which sucks for me, given that I only have an Xbox controller sitting here.
Yeah, I know. It doesn't mean that you won't be able to do it. They're going to have the whole, balancing of making sure that not just you have an equal chance with whatever control you have, but also building that matchmaking in deep space into what control you have, what your skill level is that you have, what ping you have. It's kind of, that stuff I'm looking forward to. The dogfighting module itself is just, 4 friends get in there and beat each other up. It's kind of like the WoW arena mode without the great gear that you get out at the end of it, or the, well, I guess we have to wait and see.
And that's usually the case with both things.
Yeah.
Just waiting.
I'm excited about it nonetheless. I can't wait to get into my Hornet or my Aurora or my 300 and start kicking some butt. But, I didn't build this computer just to stare at the hangar and go, ooh, how pretty is that Avenger in that business hangar.
Wait, you didn't? I did.
Yeah.
I'm gonna clock 300 hours on the hangar module. Oh yeah.
I think I have, just staring at my fish tank.
Oh god, let's not start the fish tank.
Oh no. Come on, it's pretty cool.
Well, that whole Twitch period where everyone's streaming the fish tank, that was just.
So what do you think the fish tank is gonna look like under PBR?
I don't know.
I'm just kidding.
Let's just not go there.
So, that's pretty, we didn't have it on our topics, but PBR is one of those things that is much more exciting to me right now, because I'm looking at the level of realism that this game is going to have. And after traveling out there and seeing the things that Forrest showed me that PBR does, I'm more excited to see what my Freelancer and my Constellation and hopefully the Retaliator within the next couple of months looks like with PBR. It takes those gorgeous, virtual ships we have and just makes them super beautiful.
It'll be fun to see, especially when other people start implementing, like if it does come along, custom skins, etc. I know they've brought it up on a shaky, basis before, but I'd be interested to see if it does work, given that, some people can be very artistic with their liveries, that we get some pretty nice looking ships.
Yeah, I keep forgetting that there are going to be user skins for the ships at some point.
Yeah, I'm hoping on it, being that I've always loved liveries and decals. I have to make sure I say this right, as I've been corrected before, not decals. Decals.
Decals. And insignia.
Insignia, there we go.
Yeah. So what are your final thoughts on the DFM, Arena Commander?
I'm going to enjoy it for what it is. I'm going to jump in there. I'm going to shoot things. I'm going to go in and see what the DPSs of certain weapons are and what the turning radius is of, the Hornet. I'm going there to just dissect it and, if I can, maybe put it on a spreadsheet or just tell other people what's effective and what's not.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to actually getting in the cockpit of one of my ships and being out there in space. That's my biggest thing. Being able to see it all work, see it all come together.
That sounds like a grander view than mine, but fair enough.
Yeah, thanks. All right, so the next topic that we have is gifting. And it was a pretty controversial thing when it first came out, and people got a little bit annoyed with it. Do you know the pieces of the reason why they made this gifting change?
I believe you'd actually elaborated on it.
Okay. So there was a gray market for ships, and that gray market.
When we know who's done what, and we'll leave the names out of it.
Well, we're going to talk very generally, right? So there was a gray market for ships where people were buying them either on Reddit or Craigslist or eBay, whatever. I don't know where they were buying them, but they were buying them. And people were setting up secondary accounts where they would transfer somebody's ship to, and then supposedly transfer funds or something, and then transfer that ship over to the person buying it. But the middleman in the gray market became, there were quite a number of people that were being taken by these phony middlemen that were just taking the ship, getting rid of their account, and then there was somebody left with no ship and no payment, right?
Right.
So because these ships have a monetary value right now, because we are not in-game earning credits, people have been taking advantage of other people selling ships that have LTI, selling ships that are no longer available, and taking people's money and not giving them the ship. So CIG stepped in, and they had to make a change, because when the game is out, there is not going to be any of these external, outside of game ship transfers. Everything that's transferred is going to be in-game through whatever market they create, through whatever monetary system in game we have. Right now it's UEE credits, right? So they did the kibosh on everything and said, I think it was 3 main points. And the 3 main points are, first off, when you create an account, you will not be able to gift a ship for 30 days. The second piece of that had to do with, if you do gift a ship to somebody, that person that receives the ship cannot gift it to anybody else. And the final piece of that was, if you are gifted a ship and melted, any ship purchased with those funds will not be able to be gifted. Is that about right?
Correct.
Okay. So what do you think, how do you think this affects, not us, because we've talked about this,
right,
but you pick a part of the people it's affecting, and I'll pick a different part.
Personally, if I can put on my douchebag hat here, I personally think I hate it. I really don't like it. I don't think that gifting should have even been allowed. Granted, that still would have left the issue of the gray market, and I was involved with some certain people over this that personally I think, I don't care if you've backed $100 or $48,000. If you decide to break the rules, I think you should have just been booted. I think CIG should have, laid down the iron fist. I know why they did it, because publicity-wise, this is a lot more softer than just outright banning, several, because there was a number of people doing this, people, right, as well as there's the threat of pulling of funds. But it's a no-win situation that I just sit back and honestly I'm just disgusted with, because even Star Citizen, I'd hope that there would be some sort of camaraderie and banding together and not having the human nature and element of greed, which unfortunately, as we've already seen in the forums, is quite apparent with certain organizations.
Right.
So
okay.
my opinion on it, I don't like it. If people who had earned those ships can keep them, and the other people that were selling them, in my opinion, I'm going to take the path of Alexander the Great. You're not welcome here.
Okay. See, I see it from a different perspective. I agree with you to an extent, right? Right now, we have these ships, and some of us are actually running organizations or have a podcast, a video cast that they run, and there is a need for moving ships from one account to another, and there is no way to do it in-game at this point. So I do see gifting as being an integral part of what they should be giving us.
In-game, I don't mind.
Outside.
I'm talking
They don't
outside.
have a game right now. They don't have a game right now. So I'm saying they should. I think that because CIG hasn't made a statement or taken a stance sternly on the fact that these ships are not going to be sold anymore when the game goes live, that you're going to be able to get them for, you got to go back far to see statements made by Chris where he said, yeah, you'll be able to get a constellation with 60 hours of gameplay and running missions. It really takes the cost of that ship from $275 or $225, whatever it is, down to game time, 0, right?
Right.
So when I look at this is a byproduct of the game being crowdfunded, of the game having content coming before the game. So I see it as not the people that took advantage of it were wrong. I just see it as a necessary evil because of the way that the game is going right now. I'm not saying that the people, I think the people that abused it should be sternly taken care of so it doesn't happen again. But right now, there's a greater number of people that weren't abusing the system that needed to get ships from one person to another, or like myself and some other video casters, from one account to another and then back to your account. I think there's a need for that in our, in the way that we support the game today for us. Am I upset about it? No, I understand why it's done. Am I disappointed? Yeah, I'm greatly disappointed that, say I want to do a video on the impending changes to the constellation. Instead of being able to do it alone in a hangar with better frame rate, I either have to edit my config file, which I have no idea how to do, or do it in a hangar with 11 or 12 other ships and reduce frame rate. So it does affect me, but I understand why they did it.
Right.
You know?
I guess what worries me is that this all actually leads into our next topic of multi-organizations, and if there's any final points to bring up in this, I'll allow you to do.
You really don't like this topic.
I don't. I will get quite irate with this, so I'm trying to move on so because I'll start calling people out, and I don't want to do that.
Well, then I'll just talk about some of the things that are going to change so we can get past this topic.
Sure.
I did the interview with Ben. I actually had to do it twice because this program I'm using to record us this time, it came out all scratchy and disgusting when I did his video. So what I learned in those two videos was this. This is the only choice they had. They are going to give options back in-game for the organization system to own ships. They're going to give options back for people to move a ship from one person to the other. So if I buy a ship for my sons, or if somebody buys a ship and wants to give it to me, they can. So if I gift a ship to the organization could gift it to somebody else, but it won't be done externally, it will be internally. So there are things that are being fixed. So with Ben's interview with me, I'm confident that although it's going to be a little bit of a pain in the butt for myself and people that do the things that I do in game with the game right now, I see the end result being a much better solution and much harder to take advantage of, to violate, or that would be it.
Fair enough.
We could move on. You take the next topic.
Well, as I was saying, this leads into the next issue of multi-organizations, and as most people already know, you can sign into Star Citizen, form your organization, essentially guild, and journey into the wild blue yonder. Well, not quite yet. Now, this honestly is not a huge issue. Forming guilds, don't have a problem with it. What I have a problem with is people having multiple allegiances to different guilds. And I'm saying this due to my experience in EVE Online. I don't, in the real world, corporations, work with other corporations, but you don't have a Pepsi employee working for Coca-Cola. It just, I've never seen it happen. There's corporation rivalry. So where does the allegiance begin and the, potential more nefarious motivations start when it comes to multi-organizations? We all know of Goonswarm, and I'm just going to shout out to them. I love you guys, I really do. I love you like I love the Joker, but at the same time, I wouldn't want that situation that happened in EVE, or many of the situations happen in EVE, happen in Star Citizen. I don't know, I see multi-organizations as just a means to allow more infiltration. I see the worst in people sometimes, so...
Yeah. I look at multi-organizations as another one of those necessary evils in Chris Roberts games, right? So when you had Privateer, you were a member of different guilds or different orgs, right? You were a bounty hunter guild, and you were also in a mercenary guild, and you were also in the freelancer guild, and that's what I think his original intentions were when he was saying that there'll be multi-organizations. I don't think his intention was ever to have us being in multiplayer, multiple player organizations. But we asked for it, so we're getting it. And it does open up a huge security issue of, getting somebody in that might be in another organization. That organization might have an affiliation with one that you're not on good terms with and you would never know. And that person has now infiltrated you and is going to take your stuff or give away your plans or, somehow subvert your organization. And that part of it, although it adds to immersion, it also adds to frustration in the game for people that just want to play it occasionally. I like both ends of it, but I'm not going to like it if the bad parts happen to me. Does that make sense? I like that.
Of course it makes sense.
Yeah, I like there being that kind of immersion in there, but I guess, do you think we'll see organizations where people say, we are not a multi-organization, you join us and nobody else?
Probably. Like, honestly, it's not an issue of even having bad guys. It's fun to play bad guys. That's why that's why I like Goonswarm. That's why I play a Dark Wraith in Dark Souls. That's why, it's fun to be a dick in games because, honestly, you don't have to fear the repercussions in real life that, you would. You don't go to prison. You don't die. But on a enjoyment sense, there has to be a healthy balance of, okay, that guy killed me in Dark Souls, and get better at it, and to the point of, okay, this guy's noob tubing in Call of Duty, that's all he's doing. It's that base mentality of there's people forming specific groups for the specific purpose of making other people's days hell. And there are going to be people who've grinded up to, this is theoretical, fleets of constellations and really hard work, and then there's going to be just one guy sitting there going, you know what, let's fuck that up. No rhyme or reason, let's just fuck it up,
Yeah.
And for some people, when they have a wife and a kid, or they come home, the last thing you want to do is just come home to some shithead who emptied out your Corp account, or you find all your funds missing, or maybe they went on and put on the thrusters all backwards.
Right.
It's just like, really?
And that was another piece. I mean, it really got to the rest of the organization's officer staff, or the enablers, the group I'm part of, and they got worried and started thinking of ways to lock things down and, segment off all of the financial and asset management in the corporation. And it was getting annoying to me the first couple of days when I was seeing all the statements, and then I took a step back and looked at it and said, oh my God, we're already playing the game. This is already part of the game.
Pretty much.
And it actually got me annoyed the first couple of days, and then after that I just stood back and shook my head and saying, actually, it's pretty cool.
See, and that's what the funny part is, because you want some of that. Like, I would love to see espionage and betrayal and all the things that I just said I don't want to see in, Star Citizen, because it's part of human nature. It's going to happen. But I'd like to see it fit within the setting, not just some guy coming in being like, trollolol, open the airlock and vented all your stuff into space. In the movie sense, yeah, you want to hear about the villain that had the super powerful planetary destroyer laser cannon, or the dashing pirate who, fought over the other pirate over a space coupon. You want to hear about those kind of people. I don't know, I guess my dream is I'd like to see the more sci-fi story side of it, not just the standard, lol faggot troll-a-lol culture that I've come to experience and endure as somebody who plays video games.
I think the fact that we could sit here and talk about these things the way we are tonight has already proven that the game is going to be pretty successful in giving us one of the most immersive, futuristic space combat and trading games made yet. And I'm kind of excited for these elements being put into it. And the multi-organization thing was something in the beginning when I first read into it. I wasn't so excited about it until I started doing SCAA. It's like when I started doing my video cast and people wanted to start an organization for it, it actually gave me an understanding of why multi-organizations might be a good thing. I mean, maybe somebody wants to be part of Imperium, right? Imperium is one of the bigger orgs out there right now, but also wants to be part of my group, or maybe part of I think his name is Matt or Wes from The Whole Truth.
Right.
You know, part of his group. You know, because they're members of those communities, but primarily they're going to be flying with Imperium or with the Lamp or somebody else. I like that. You know, I like that piece of it. So it gives not just people, you know, it's kind of like being, working for General Electric or, you know, somebody like that, but also being a member of your local Lions Club. You know, it's kind of the immersion that I like about it. And there's also going to be in-game organizations, right? You know
yes.
that part?
Yes.
Yeah, they're going to have those same elements from Privateer in there. So, do you have any final thoughts on this? Do you think that we've said enough?
Mainly for me, it's just the fear of their stereotypical gamer troll mentality. Like, honestly, you know what, Goonswarm, go for it. I would love to see you guys, you know, blockade Terra. Because I know you'll probably try. or something really funny and retarded that will both make our days hell, and we'll just go, what the hell? Why is this happening?
They're not even one of the biggest orgs right now, right?
Not yet, but knowing the goons from Eve and sorry about that. Knowing the goons, they'll have something up their sleeve. Like Scott Manley's with them, for crying out loud.
He's not really though. Just
he's a goon.
Okay.
He is.
All right.
Hey, trust me, I've talked to him. He's a goon.
He's a goon? All right. Yep. That's right. You have actually interviewed him, and I'm still trying to chase him down. All right.
So, you know, if they want to do the creative evil stuff, go for it. I really don't want to see the, you know, lol troll, you know, vented all your stuff into space. Because, you know, after a while that just gets old.
I would like to see there be reset buttons of, you know, if somebody's actually starting to take over a big space like that and trying to grief other people in the game, that CIG on the server end just, you know, says send massive fleet to this star system to take them out, you know?
Reset buttons, that's getting extreme, you know. You lose stuff. I've played Minecraft.
No, I don't mean it that way.
Oh,
I mean
okay, well, it sound like that.
No, not if you lose stuff. I mean,
we're talking about
say these people are controlling like Terra, the whole Terran system, right? And nobody can get anything done there. Everyone that flies in there, the goons are just destroying. So on the server end, they just send a massive fleet of 12 Bengal carriers.
Actually, this has happened. In Eve, there was one famous, I don't know if it was Goons, they can correct us if we're wrong, was one of the, either as Goons or I forget whoever's a Goon can correct us, but they had actually, this specific group had blockaded off one of the main trade runs. Like I think it was going into Jeddah, which is the huge there. But this was in the game's infancy when people were still trying to, you know, finding out about Eve. It didn't have the huge subscriber base that it does now, i.e. money, revenue. Right. So when people started finding out they couldn't get to their main, you know, market area, people started leaving. Subscriptions started disappearing. It was that frustrating that they had so effectively blockaded it off. And this might have been a hindsight by the developers, you know, okay, maybe we should have one more, you know, lane in here, that people started leaving, and the developers actually had to reach out and say, okay, yeah, we got to stop you because we're losing money. So I don't mind if there's a point where, hey, it makes headlines and, you know, something amazing happened here, but if it's really preventing that many people from having fun and people start leaving and Star Citizen tanks, then I'd get upset.
Okay.
I won't ask for a reset button. So, oh shit, you know, I lost my stuff. Yeah, that's gonna suck. But I can envision myself, you know, a week later going, you know, I kind of want to play Star Citizen again.
Right.
It's like a drug.
I don't think of a reset button as giving you lost stuff back. I think of it as taking care of like issues in a star system where people can't get to where they need to. What else do we have anything else? Any final thoughts on the multiple organizations? For me, I think they're wonderful. I didn't like them at first, but now I like that it's adding more immersion into the game. And what are your final thoughts?
I'm still wary of human nature.
Well, okay.
And the real human nature. So
I've-
other than that, that's pretty much all I had to add to that.
Okay. So so we have DFM coming up in the next 30 to 45 days. We know it's going to be graduated in the way that they roll it out. A few people, a little bit more, and then the masses. My guess would be whatever their testers are, the subscriber base, the alpha testers, and then the people that are paying for the Arena Commander pass, right? So that's the way I see it in my head. What do you see outside of the dogfighting module? It could be a ship, it could be another module, as being the next thing that you'll be looking forward to after this.
I'm actually keeping an eye out on the next great starship. I don't watch each episode as in-depth as I should, but mostly just because it's interesting seeing some of these teams come together. From the start to finish, like I tried to participate with, Pleasure and Kaji-san, and didn't make it there, but even my home team, it's an interesting process to see it narrowed down, because for me, I'd like to see if this opens any potential paths for like the modding crew in the future who want to add in more ships and more content alongside CIG, and seeing if they can make it into canon. Like BattleTech has had, like MechWarrior had people throw in non-canonical mechs that have been accepted canonically into the fandom just because they said, hey, it works, you've put the effort into this, and it's a fun design to use. Go for it. It's now canon. Woohoo! I don't see CIG pulling a George Lucas and just saying, no, it's our, Chris saying it's my vision. You guys can't, fuck off. Leave your fandom out of this. So I don't see him doing that.
Yeah, I think his vision is more, here's something to play with. I know they're going to have two ways that people can mod the game. One is going to be private servers, which are, you can do whatever you want. And the other one is going to be, somehow they're going to have these people being able to submit their modded ships into the game. But I think because ships have to be balanced and everything, it's going to be a little bit more difficult than we foresee at this point to get a player ship into the real game, right?
Right.
Yeah. You can't have one that has like the best turn rate, the best acceleration, the fastest speed.
Yeah, I can. My ship's the best. Jeez.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So that's going to be fun. Me personally, I'm looking forward to some of the reworks on the ships. I'm reading all, the in-between lines things that come out and all the developers' comments from my trip out there.
Look at the Idris.
Oh yeah. I saw the Connie kind of, sort of, right? David Hobbins showed me what had been worked, and I've got one of those in my hangar, and I'm really excited about seeing the Connie because everybody has one, and it really is really cool in the front, but when you go inside, it's blah. So that's something that they're taking care of. But really, for me, I can't wait for that PBR Avenger, and I think you're one of those people like myself that Avenger's just a gorgeous ship. So I'm waiting for that one. Yeah, you had one for a while, didn't you? No. Oh, you gave one away?
No, I've never had an Avenger. I have a 350R. I have my Hornet F7CS. F7C Stealth, and then I have the. No, that's all I have actually. No, I do have the Avenger. Wow, I am a dumbass.
I know you do.
Okay, this is what happens when Hawk is on drugs.
I remember you talking about when somebody gave it to you, maybe, or something. I can't remember.
Shigo Karendau gifted me that for my birthday.
Yeah, that is a. I like the Avenger. I like the old ship. I have a Hornet. I have an Avenger. I have a 315P and both Auroras. One of those will be turned, an LX and an LN. One of those will be turned into the Mustang when it comes out. So I've got the single seat ships ready and waiting. Those are the ones I have. Of course, the M50 and the Gladiator aren't going to be out for quite a while, so I've got those too. I went crazy on the single seat ships. I should say my viewers did, giving me ships.
we certainly will have a lot of fun to.
Yeah.
A lot of time to have fun with them, given when the dogfighting module comes out.
Yeah, I can't wait.
In the meantime, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I do. I like what we're doing here, and if people would like to hear us again, please put a comment in the video on both my channel and Dr. Hawk's, and we would take any suggestion on what to call this show from any of our listeners.
Yes, I'm actually quite open to this because I think people are starting to get a little bored of me listening to me drone on, and honestly, I'm getting bored of listening to myself drone on. So having some dogfighting module content as well as things to commentate over will be quite exciting as compared to this happened today. This also happened today. This happened too. So I'm more, all for it. Look forward to future collaborations. It's fun talking to you. I love your show. I love your what you do. Here,
Love your show too.
Here goes
oldest Star Citizen show that's that's continuing.
Yeah, that's right. People keep bringing that up. Yeah, Senate's not around anymore.
Yeah.
So I'd like to thank you very much for the time here. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you in the future.
Thank you, ditto, and we will talk again in a few weeks, I hope.
All right, take care, Nikki.
You too. Good night.